Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from...
This is God PanathaGuru again.
Hey, everybody, this is Mr. Clean.
An incarcerated individual at New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. Thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Speaking Through the Bars, Season 2. We thank you for being here. You got me, myself, Mr. Clean.
Thank you for tuning in to Speaking Through the Bars podcast. Today we have a special guest in the building. We have the brother, the one and only Kardell Sims, Mr. Prison Reform himself, prison reentry. I'm excited that I have him on the show. Mr. Kardell Sims, thank you for being on the show, brother. May you please tell the people who you are and where you're from real quick?
Yeah, my name is Kardell Sims. I'm from Missouri. I'm a reentry consultant, mentor, speaker. This everything that got to do with reentry. I'm a part of it. Try to be a part of it at the most.
The first time me and Mr. Clean heard about you, we was actually looking at our tablets. This was like 2022, early 22, and I'm like, damn, Mr. Clean, look, this brother look like you. You know what I'm saying? And he like, yeah, that's true, man. See what's up, what he got going on. So we look, we see the Prison Reentry 101. I'm like, all right, cool. We went to the general library, looked you up, had a civilian look you up. We got a phone number for you. It was a 617 area code. Gave you a call, and sure enough, man, I came home. Today gave me 6 months home, so I'm thankful and I'm blessed. Came home.
That's right on.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I got next to you, man. Reached out to you. You was 100. You got back to us, and I'm excited to have you on the show, have you on the platform, everything you have done. So I'm glad you're about to share your story and your journey and your vision with us. And thank you, man. Mr. Clean, what's up, bro? I'm sure you're excited too, man. We finally got to kick off season 2. You know, our first episode. We got Kardell on the show. How you feeling?
Man, I'm good, man. Kardell, man, we appreciate you for coming through, man, and putting your story out here for our listeners and Speaking Through the Bars to hear it. We've been, like he said, he explained the story already, so there's no really reason for me to repeat it. But we definitely appreciate you, for being a man of your word, man. Let's talk about, how you grew up in Missouri, man. Tell us a little bit about, where you from and how you grew up.
So I'm from Central Missouri. I'm in between, close to the Kansas City. Let's just say it like that. That's getting pretty much more of our stopping ground, really. Around the Kansas City area, and I just grew up in the hood. Projects, grew up in the projects. Back when the projects was projects, you talking about late 80s. You talking about the 80s, 90s. So that's when the crack started really hitting. Projects really started getting damaged and stuff like that. A lot of crime, seeing witnesses, some killings. The court I stayed in, the nickname of it was Killer Court. In our projects, this particular projects, it had 5 courts. Each court was one way in, one way out. That was just how it was. So you had to go to the end of the court, turn around, come all the way back out. So I've seen a lot of things as a youngster, but I grew up in a struggling environment. At the time, I didn't know, but when I look back on it, that's just what it was. Mother was on drugs. Father wasn't nowhere around. Household I grew up in, everybody either was on drugs or alcohol. It was just dysfunctional. Except for my uncle, he didn't fit criteria. But everybody else growing up, they was alcoholics or they was on crack. From my mother to my aunties and to my other uncles. And so I just grew up with this mindset that I was a product of my environment. And as a teenager and as a youngster, I just carried that mindset with me everywhere I went and whatever I did. And got involved in the gang and just went from there.
All right. Could you explain to us as far as like when you started getting arrested, 15, 16 years old? Could you talk about the State Fair event, if you don't mind?
Yeah. So by the time I was 16, like I said, I was a product of my environment. I had gotten a little trouble in juvenile and stuff like that. But the biggest trouble I got into when I was going on 16 years old, to break it down in Missouri State Fair, the city I'm in, we host that. We've been hosting it all our years. But what people don't know, unless you really there, is it's really a racial divided thing. It becomes tension. You go out there, you got these cowboy events and stuff like that, and they get drunk and then they want to use the N word. You know what I'm saying? You know how it go. And at 15, 16 years old, after going to the fair every other year, you used to going out there fighting. You know, when you go out there, you probably going to end up fighting. But this particular time, it went past fighting. And me and my partner, we almost killed this white dude, beat him with a crowbar and a 2x4, put him in a coma. He was in a coma. We ripped his half his lip off, tore his face up, and it was real bad. And so got arrested, went to juvenile detention center. And while I was in the juvenile detention center for a few months, because I could play basketball, some coaches came in on my behalf and spoke about my living situation, how my mom was on crack, how I was living in an unhealthy environment. So they spoke on my behalf, and the judge let me go to a foster home, but the stipulation that I had to graduate high school. If I didn't graduate high school, they would revoke their probation, and I would go do time.
Mr. Clean, what's up, man? You got any questions for Mr. Kardell, bro?
Yeah, man. When you did your time, how many bids did you do anyway?
And so I did about 3 to 4 bids. When I got to really sit and think about it, but let's just say after I graduated high school and I went to college, played basketball, still had the same mentality, still selling drugs, robbing, gang banging, all that, and I ended up catching my going to prison for the first time. I ended up going in prison with a 19-year sentence. I actually was in state prison doing one sentence, and I had another case pending. I went to trial, lost that case. They gave me an extra 12 years. So I had a 7-year sentence. When I lost that case going to trial, they gave me an extra 12-year sentence, and I had 19 years. And that was my first bid. In the middle of that bid, a Senate bill passed, cut my time in half. I went up for immediate parole. I went up, got released within probably about 3 years after I went up for immediate parole. Got out, went right back doing the same thing, called another case, went back on a parole violation. Ended up beating that case, got out, called another case. And in the midst of this time, like I said earlier, I was in a gang. So in the midst of this time, a lot of gang wars was going on. People was getting killed and shootings was happening. So what they did, because I wasn't the only one going through this on my block, so we all convicted felons. We all going in and out of prison. So what happened was they swooped us all up on association, gave us technical violations and stuff like that, sent us back to prison. So that'd be number 3. So after doing about a year and a half of that, got out, went right back to the same thing, and then the feds came. So yeah, 4 times. I went to prison 4 times.
After you did, your last federal bid, what was like your mind frame when you came home?
My mind frame was sticking to the blueprint that I had, the plans, the goals, the ideas that I had prior to the federal bid. Like I said, I was just getting out, going right back to the same block, same gang, doing the same thing, selling the same drug. But when I got to the feds, when they handed me that piece of paper that had my name versus the United States of America, I'm like, hold up. Like, man, why you keep finding yourself in these situations? You've been like, this is, I started this jail and prison run when I was 23. Now here I am, 35, facing the federal bid. And I'm like, man, what you gonna do? Because I'm like, man, you the reason why you keep finding yourself in these situations. So from that point on, I said, I'm just gonna build what I want my life to be like. And so I started doing a lot of reading and building this certain mindset that for when I got out that I knew I was gonna need in order to do what I wanted to do. So from that mindset, I just started building the goals, a vision board and stuff like that. So this was my blueprint for when I got out. So every day in prison, I woke up and put steps together on how I was going to accomplish it once I got out. So when they let me out, the mindset was just, okay, accomplish the things you got on your vision board. You got it written down, just follow the steps and keep going until you accomplish everything that's on here.
Kardell, man, PanathaGuru again, man. Quick question, bro. Let's take it back because you pretty much had a formal education before you went to prison. I'm saying you went to college, you played ball. Like a lot of people, they hear that brothers and sisters went to prison they automatically assuming because we were a product of our environment that we had no education. In your case, it's different. Could you explain that to us, please?
Yeah, just like the education just came out. One thing about where I'm from, like school was something like, yeah, you go to school. Even though by the time I was in high school, I was on the verge of dropping out because I had a lot of homeboys that was dropping out and getting to the gang. So I was on that verge of dropping out. The case at the state fair actually what kept me in the education because it gave me the option of either you go finish high school or if you drop out, then we're going to revoke it. So you got to graduate in order to not get locked up. And so that's what helped me get the graduation education because I can play basketball. Then the scholarship started coming. And so I just took the scholarship because I love to play basketball. And so the education came with the scholarship, even though while I was in college, yeah, I was playing basketball. I would go to class, but I also, once all of that was out the way, I was in the streets doing what I do at the time.
So pretty much living a double life. Pretty
Yeah,
much,
yeah.
You know,
I mean, but that's if you was on the outside looking in, because if you was around me, the people that was around me, even it's crazy because even basketball coaches, they knew how I was moving the groove and they knew how I lived, but they wasn't really tripping because if I come into the game and give you 20, 25 points and a win, and I'm first team all conference and stuff like that, they ain't just come to the court and do what you got to do.
Correct.
So you got an organization called North. You could talk about that a little bit for our listeners?
Yeah, so the North organization is the North is an acronym for Northside Organization Reinventing the Honor. How that came about was I wanted to rebuild the community that I helped destroy. That I was part of a gang. We destroyed the whole community. We destroyed our whole neighborhood. And so I wanted to rebuild that. I want to play a major factor. We got a lot of land, empty lots and stuff like that. So I wanted to come back, start the organization and rebuild on the land and start having programs for the youth and for adults and just change the whole value, restore that value into the community. And that's what North is all about.
Yeah, I understand, man, because I feel the same way about my community, you know? Like, I grew up in Rochester, New York, and, like, I just destroyed the community my whole life, and now I be like, dang, man, like, what can I do to give back? Because what matter more now, like, you know? And giving back is, like, it matters way more.
Yeah, because like what made me really hit me because when I got back home and I looked around and I noticed all this empty property. I'm like, man, we used to have a trap house right there. We used to have a spot right there. And then I'm looking at all the people that we was beefing with and the spots they had and all this stuff was tore down. And now when you go through this area of the neighborhood, you can almost see through the whole neighborhood because all these houses and stuff was tore down and they wasn't getting rebuilt. So I'm like, nah, this is getting sad. And it's a lot of children over here with nothing to do. And I knew how it was for me when we was coming out, we didn't have nothing to do. So we end up getting involved in the streets. And so I want to change that narrative. Like, man, let's put together as a community, let's come together and start rebuilding and bringing value back over here before we lose another generation.
Awesome, man. Thanks you for sharing, bro, man. I see the work you've been putting in. I mean, I'm on your Instagram, I'm on your YouTube, and it's like watching brothers like Andre Norman, watching certain brothers, and I'm like, okay, their YouTube channel and their Instagram account might not reflect that these brothers are actually doing a lot, but these brothers is actually doing a lot of work, you know what I'm saying, towards this prison reform. And you've been going to multiple FCIs. I've been seeing Rochester, Minnesota, different places I've been seeing you've been going to. You know what I mean? Can you talk about that? Like, I see that you're busy you're serious with this prison reform work, you know what I'm saying? And you're constantly taking courses, giving out teaching classes, 6-time author. You know what I mean? Like, you putting in the work, you know what I mean? And how did you go about coming home and now you're able to go to all these prisons and talk to the brothers and share your story?
Oh yeah, so when I was in the feds, all I used to see was people come back and they get out, and within 6-7 months they be back, and they say, "Oh man, you can't." In Missouri, you got to wear they used to have you. They don't do it now, but when I got out or when I was in the feds, you used to have to wear the federal sweat patch instead of dropping UAs. You just wear the sweat patch, and it soaks up everything in your pores. So they just test the patch, and if you got any drugs or alcohol in your system, then you get violated. And so I used to see people come back like, man, the patch is set up, and every excuse is why they got sent back. And I used to tell dudes like, man, when I get out, I'm gonna walk it down, no problems, and I'm gonna come back and teach people how to walk it down. And so that was part of my mission. So once I got out, I just, like I said, I stuck to the blueprint because part of my thing was I wanted to go back in prison and use everything. Once I got to a point where I walked down my probation, my federal probation, and my state parole, because I was on federal probation, state parole, and state probation all at the same time. So once I got rid of all that and did it successfully, I said, now I'm going to go back in and say this is what it takes. And because I know for a fact that reentry starts on the inside, because in order to me to get this far while I was in the feds, I started working on myself. And so I'm working on myself on the inside. I just carried it on the outside. And so how I move on the outside is no different how I was moving on my last bid. And so the ultimate goal was for me to go back on the inside and give the game, like, this is how you can make it. This is what's going on out here. It be an inspiration, be some motivation, and educate. And so we was talking about Andre Norman. So Andre Norman was the first person I seen that was doing what I planned to do. And so he showed me that it was possible. Here you got somebody who went to prison, got out, built the program, and took that program and went back inside and doing major work. So I'm like, man, if he could do it, I could do it. And so I just built on the inside. I built on the Inside Reentry Academy and said, I'm going to do the same thing. And out of that and through my content, people started reaching out. And then the federal government reached out and said, hey, we got a motivational speakers contract that they offering. Would you like to be one of the speakers that go inside the prisons and share your story and stuff like that? I'm like, yeah. And they paying. So I'm like, yeah, most definitely I do it. By any means, even if they didn't pay me and provided for the flight and just get me out there. That was my thing. Just get me out there. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to give the brothers all that I got because I've been in the shoes. I know what it's going to take while you're on the inside, what you need to do. And I know what it's going to take when you get on the outside. And that's how I got into that position.
But yeah, so you ever visit any state prisons?
Yeah, so I visit state prisons, federal prisons. Like if I get there, I'm there. Ain't no just any type of prison. Open the doors up and let me in. I'm there. I do my best to get there.
Yeah, man. We need to have you come here, Orleans, where I'm at, man. Talk to the brothers here.
Yeah. I got one of my programs running in the state. I got one of my programs running in the state prison right now. I was just in the prison yesterday. I go inside it with my program at least 3 times a week. I go inside physically twice. Then I got a virtual programs as well. And then in between that time, I get to go out. They hit me up, say, hey, we need you to come down here and speak, or would you need to go in there and speak? So I got people hit me up everywhere from whether it's they see my work on the tablets, and they send me an email or they call me and say, hey, we what can we do to get you down here? So that's how, man, this is what I do. They call, we make it happen. We can make it happen. Then we're going to make it happen.
What about for the females? As far as for the females, mass incarceration that's starting to get crazy right now in America, worldwide. You know, like anything you're doing right now for the ladies. You know what I mean? Like that's the route that we're trying to go right now. I mean, we're definitely trying to help the brothers, but we're definitely pushing in the direction of mass incarceration for women.
Right. And so me personally, do I do a lot of work with the ladies? No, but what I did, I built and reached out to women who I know, similar stories. They out here grinding, they doing their thing. And it's kind of like I'm coaching them, giving them the blueprint on how to build their programs so they can go back in on the women's side and do what they need to do as far as getting the women and focusing in on the woman reentry. But me personally, have I started working with the women? Honestly, no. I mean, I've helped some women that reached out to me when they got out and gave them the game. But as far as me going into women's institutions, I haven't been inside any of them yet.
Now, like you were saying earlier, you was going back and forth to prison. You went back and forth a few times. I went back and forth twice. Mr. Clean went back and forth twice. And we started this podcast, so I'm in prison last year. And the first thing we said to each other was, listen, I'm getting ready to come home. I'm not coming back to jail, not at this stage of my life. I mean, and you're not trying to come back to jail. So it's like, what are we going to do different this time around? You know what I mean? So we started this podcast for prison reform to show awareness to brothers and sisters that's incarcerated or that's in the streets. You know what I'm saying? It's just not to give advice to people incarcerated, because people are in prison in the streets, whether it's a job, a relationship, a drug addiction. So, I mean, that's 1 minute card. You know, Mr. Clean is still incarcerated. He be out soon. Mr. Clean, you gotta have to call back. I'll be right here with Kardell waiting on your call, bro. Kardell, man. Anything else you could tell us as far as what advice would you give a young man that's getting ready to come out? You know what I mean? As far as I heard you say reentry, I mean, reform starts in prison. You know what I mean?
Yeah, most definitely. You have to work on yourself while you there. Like you said, you ask yourself, what is it that you're going to do different? A lot of people say when they ask themselves, they're thinking about what I'm going to do, how I'm going to move different. In reality, it's not how you're going to move different. It's how you're going to think different. It's where your thought process is at. What's relevant to you is what you're going to focus on all the time. So if staying out of prison is relevant to you, then you're going to start building many different ways and avenues for that to happen. So if you're incarcerated right now, the best time to start preparing for your release is right now, not when you get out. Right now, I don't care if it's trying to figure out where you're trying to live, how you're gonna get to and from when you get out there, the transportation, the jobs. You need to have an idea of what it is that you're trying to do when you get out, and start building the plan and goals and writing it out so you can see this. That's what I do in my class. Like in my classes, you have a reentry plan. You got to fit out a reentry plan, and it's saying everything that you're going to do when you get out, or when you have these certain emotions, whatever, how you're going to deal with it, because you need to be able to go back and look at it. So if you're incarcerated right now, you need to start working on everything right now. If you ain't got no birth certificate, a social security card, and things of that nature, you need to be I don't know how it is in a lot of states, but I know in Missouri, you go to your caseworker, be like, yeah, I need the birth certificate. I need to file for a birth certificate. I need to get a social security card, and they'll put that into your file. And when you release, you already got it with you as you going out the gate. So you ain't got to be out there trying to get your social security card and birth certificate. But you need to get all that lined up as well. But most importantly, you need to get your mindset together, because there's a lot of resources out there. People talk about it, but it's different from now than when I was getting out of prison in 2007. And it really wasn't no resources. It really wasn't no help. It really wasn't nothing. It was like, you just got to get out here and just get it. We ain't hiring y'all, and none of that. It's different now than 2022. You got people who've been incarcerated, got out, started their business. They hiring formerly incarcerated or convicted felons. You got jobs and companies more felon friendly. And so you just really got to have the mindset to be able to come out here and take advantage, to be able to recognize and take advantage of the resources that's out here that can help you.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, here in New York State, they do the same thing. You go to your counselor, she'll get you your birth certificate, she'll get you your social security card, copy of your education, things of that nature. The bare necessities to help you. That's for what you need when you go home. Right,
and people don't realize that, like, that cuts out a lot of hassle, because that cuts out at least a week worth of work, maybe 2 weeks when you get out. Because you get out now, you got to try to go get your birth certificate. Then you go there and they say, "No, we need your social security card in order to get that." Then you go to social security card and they say, "Hey, we need your birth certificate." So now you're stuck in the loop for a week or two trying to just get them documents, when you could have used them 2 weeks to come up and manifest upon something else, because you already got it leaving out of prison.
They say a mind is a terrible thing to waste. But when I was incarcerated with Mr. Clean, I used to tell him, man, time is also a beautiful, terrible thing to waste, man. I mean,
Yeah, man.
so it's
you
not.
can't. You're right. You can't. And that time is valuable when you first coming out. I mean, it's really valuable every day. But when you first coming out of prison for about the first year, 2 years, time is not on your side, and you got to be able to use it and make it as valuable as possible.
So as far as this reentry course you have the you're a life coach. I mean, you got the virtual class once a week, I believe you said.
Yeah.
You teach the other classes twice a week. I mean, is your class like you like 5-10 students? Like how that works? Is it people that were incarcerated?
Yeah, so all my classes are on the inside. Everybody's incarcerated still. We're working on making a mindset shift, 4 ways of making a mindset shift while incarcerated. Assessing your self-awareness, challenging your beliefs, prioritizing your values, and having expectations for yourself. My average class starts out with probably about 15 to 20 students. It always ends with about 4 to 8 students. Reason why, and I always let people know, even when I go in to speak. When I go into prison to speak, I bring a picture with me. It's me, 4 of my homeboys. We all in the same federal conspiracy case. We are the same federal prison. And I always talk about the recidivism rate. Recidivism rate says within 5 years, 75% of those who get out of prison will get arrested. 75%, 3 out of 4. And in that picture, there's 4 of us in there. And all of us got the feds around the same time. And within 3 years, 3 of them went back. The 75% went back. I was the only one that was still out the 4. So that shows you your numbers. So that's how your numbers is going to work in the classroom as well. So if you get 20 of them, about 75% of them are going to be gone before the class is over. Whether like one of the institutions I'm in now, they got a big drug craze that's going on in this institution. I lost half my class because a lot of them are out there on the yard back in. And when I used to be gelling, you say, oh man, you see somebody doing wrong or something, like you seen somebody going to church or going to the temple, or they taking classes, then all of a sudden you see them back out there. They ain't coming to classes, they ain't coming to the religious meetings. You be like, man, what's going on with you? Like, oh man, I'm back out in the wilderness. So that's what I call it, man. They back out in the wilderness. And so, but that's the reality of life. That's how the recidivism number goes. And so, but I go down on my people in my class. If I got enough time to walk the yard after class, I go find them, man. What's happening? What's going on with you? To keep in mind, even though you're not in class, I'm still thinking about you, man. I'm still rooting for you. The door is going to be open long as this class session is open.
You could definitely lose focus in prison, man. I mean, my first bid, honestly, I did 13 years on my first bid. And out of those 13, maybe 5 was in the box, you know? And stayed in the yard, you know, never went to law library, never worked on my appeal for my case because I went to trial, you know, just did time, you know. The second bid, I'm like, hold on. I'm not the young boy in here no more. I'm the old nigga in here now. You know what I mean? I ain't the young boy in the house no more. I'm one of the old dudes in here now. By the way, Mystic, I used to be like, yo, some of these young boys need to call me by my last name in here now. But, you know, it's like, I've been there. I was in them shoes. I was their age at one point. I made the mistakes. I'm still making mistakes. I'm not perfect. You know what I mean? But like you said, I tell brother, I get phone calls from brothers in prison every day. And I tell them, you need to get it together while you in there. You know what I'm saying?
It's a must.
Nobody owes you nothing when you come home. Know that. And also, you need to have patience. I'm saying you need to have patience. I came home thinking I was going to get everything done within 30 days, telling Mr. Clean we going to get everything done. Today give me 6 months home. We finally recording our first episode. You know, so everything is in God's time, is patience, and pleasure to having you on the show, Kardell, for real.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. But you're right, everything gets patience. I came out just like you said. I'm finna get out here and I'm finna get everything done, and I'm finna be here within. Man, please, the process, it didn't speed up. It slowed down about 4 times. But the thing was, I understood that. Like it once it hit me, like it ain't gonna go as fast as you think. Things ain't gonna work fast as you think. You got to sit back and have patience and trust the process.
That's right.
And I'm like, I'm like, if I had patience while on, and I know I got patience because I done did some prison. I done did too much time on somebody else's time not to have patience. I done been through lockdown. I done been through solitude. I got patience. I came out of the prison with patience. So yeah, you definitely got to have that patience.
That's right. Mr. Clean, what's up, man?
Yeah.
You got anything more to talk about, bro?
Yeah, man. So Kardell, man, how long have you been home now?
And so I'm on year 5 now. I just hit year 5. Been home 5 years, and this is the first time since probably this is the first time since 1998 and under that I've been out this many consecutive years without touching a jail cell or a prison.
Congratulations, man.
Yeah, that's a blessing, man. Wow, for real, 5 years, coming from here. I be telling dudes, man, it's like a fraternity, man. The only way you're gonna know how to make it, you gotta talk to somebody who came from it.
Oh yeah, most definitely. You got to. And but that's the one thing that's good about now, because even look at the opportunity in the situation that we are now. You being on the inside, we out here. You got the podcast. You got the podcast cracking. People gonna hear this podcast. They're gonna hear me. They're gonna not only hear me, but see the works that you all doing. And it's just another reminder saying that if you get out and you apply yourself, man, things can happen. Because that's what one of the big things that helped me when I got it. And I seen other formerly incarcerated. I heard people out here doing big things. I got out. I seen Wallow. I'm like, what does this do? So I seen people like Wallow. Then I seen other people, Andre Norman, just all these other people that was formerly incarcerated, and they out here doing big things, whether it's programs in prison, whether it's trucking, whether it's barbershop, whether it's whatever. But they out here doing it. And so that's why even with my academy, like even with my reentry plan, the biggest thing about my reentry plan is you just don't get me. My reentry academy, you just don't get me. So in my classes, we had guests. I made sure all my guests are formerly incarcerated. So when they come on, whether it's in person or whether it's virtually in the virtual class they come on, they formerly incarcerated. They're going to share their story. They're going to share their game. They're going to get the knowledge, and they're going to be the inspiration, because I want to keep pumping it in the people in my classes' face, those that's locked up, that is formerly incarcerated people out here that's doing great, amazing things, and you can be one of them too if you just stick to the blueprint and apply the hustle and trust it.
That's right.
Right. I respect that. That's a fact.
Firm believer.
Good.
That's about it, man. Mr. Clean, before we close out, man, you know what I mean? You want anything to say to the brother, man? Or Kardell, do you got anything else to say that we might have missed out on?
I just want to say, man, I know, people that's going to hear this, they're going to get incarcerated. I've been there. I jailed, and then I got it right. Right. And at the end of the day, man, I just tell people, man, to tap into yourself, man. Believe in yourself. Get you a plan. Get you some goals. Get you some idea. We in a new era time. You can come out here and do what you want to do, be who you want to be, and do it all legit. It's just so many legit ways, man, to get money. It's so many legit ways to have a peaceful life nowadays that it's almost to the point where, like, if you come out on anything else, man, I hate to say it, but the reality is, man, it's kind of like, man, you lost behind time. You lost behind time. Don't let time,
man. Reality is reality, though.
Yeah.
A lot of brothers and sisters get left behind.
Yeah. And that's the sad part, but I think that comes from education, because if we can educate those getting out of prison, say, you got this phone. If you know how to work this one phone to your advantage, you can run you a six-figure business off this one phone if you utilize it right. But this is what it's going to take. Right. It's going to take the mindset of this. It's going to take whatever that you want to do. That's why I came out. I ran a speaker business still running off my phone. Everything off my phone. And you can do that with a lot of things. And I think that's why I like my program going on the inside, to let them know, like, look, man, don't think you ain't got the resources, because in actuality, all you need is just this phone. You get that phone and you use it right, it's going to direct and connect you to everything that you need to be directed and connected with to be successful.
Yeah, man. Man, we definitely appreciate you for coming through, speaking through the bars, man. Is there any advice you got for the youth, man, who might be listening? What would you tell a youth who doing the same thing that you once did in your life before you seen the vision that you see now?
I just let them know, don't let the limitations of your background reduce the height of your potential.
Facts. And find a mentor, man. There's nothing wrong with finding a mentor.
Most definitely find a mentor. Most definitely. That's for the youth and those coming out of prison. Find a mentor. You need it. Yep. Find a mentor. That's number one. I'm glad you said that, because that would be my number one thing. Getting out of prison, or use your youth and you kind of feeling like you lost and stuck and don't know which way to go. Find a mentor.
Male, female, uncle, niece. It could be younger than you or older than you. It don't have to be older than you.
No. I got some mentors.
As long as the advice they give you is right and it can lead you in the right path to get you where you want to be in life, man, that's the person you want to be around.
Yeah, exactly. Most definitely. Finding a mentor.
Well, Kardell, man, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for coming through, Mr. Clean. Thank you for your patience today. Tell the brothers in there, appreciate that you.
Hey, I just want to say something real quick. Hey, because when you first said Mr. Clean, at the very beginning, I'm like, man, I honestly thought you was talking to me. I had alopecia in the prison. That's when my alopecia started happening. So you hear all the names, all the
jokes,
yeah.
That's a fact.
I'm like, you playing with me.
Nah, you the bro. You know I would never do that.
Yo,
man.
I ain't gonna lie though, man. Like, I grew up with alopecia, so it's like it kind of like I was more into sports, but when the alopecia started hitting, I was one of the people I ain't let people joke on me. So it got to the point where the principals, kind of I never felt like I had to fit in though. I always felt like people had to fit in with me when I had alopecia. You feel me? So I always was a leader, but I just
you had it when you was younger.
Man, I ain't gonna front.
So
it was tough. Everybody who know me always like, boy, ahead.
Yeah, I went from long hair, braids, and all that to alopecia, all over. So in prison. So I'm hearing the jokes. I'm the young buck too. So I'm hearing the jokes from the old. Hey, what's up, Patches? Look at you, Mr. Clean. Like I used to hear all the jokes. I done got plenty of fights about it, and to the point where I'm like, I ain't gonna keep fighting about it. This is what it is, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yo, Kardell, man, sorry about that, but we look forward to also being on your platform hopefully one day as well, man. Whether we
you're always welcome. Come on to the re-entry journey. Come on to the re-entry journey. We definitely want to highlight your journey. Most definitely.
All right, man. You want to let the listeners know where they can find you, man, before we close out?
Yeah, just find me at I am Kardell Sims. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, Kardell Sims, website, Kardell Sims. I'm Kardell Sims.
That's right, Mr. Kardell, man. Thank you for coming through, man. We thank you for having you, man. Have a great day. Have a blessed day. And I'll hit you up and I'll stay in touch.
All right, man. You all too, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Mr. Clean, man. Shout it out, man. Speaking through the bars, man. He's talking to PanathaGuru and Mr. Clean.
And this Mr. Clean, speaking through the bars, man. Season 2 starting. Let's go. Let's get it.